Welcome to the latest edition of the World Report. I'm Scott Crowfoot. On today's report, President Trump scolds Big Pharma to reduce the cost of prescriptions. A top Mexican official threatens to combat Trump by unleashing drug cartels into the United States. Say hello to China's ICBMs, as well as a defiant Iran shooting off its own rockets in defiance of a UN resolution. Also, is America on the precipice of widespread civil unrest? Today's moment in history, we explore the immigration policies of the past with someone who actually went through the vigorous process. But now to our top stories. President Trump faces monumental challenges confronting this country and the world amid ambitious hostility from the Democrats and their allies in the media. He's trying to stop TPP, Obamacare, tackle the border, bring back jobs, tax cuts, ISIS, and on and on. He sets out a very ambitious agenda, but is it too ambitious? Joining us is the World Report's senior analyst, Morrie Beschloss, whom you can follow at mbeschloss on Twitter. Morrie, every new administration sets out with their first 100 days, their first couple of months of trying to put back. They have a couple of 2 or 3 specific goals. I've never seen anything like this before.
It's an endless list, and it's the only time since Roosevelt that any president has come out with a 100-day program. Because what you're doing, you say, check me out as to how well I do the first 100 days. And you mentioned some of the things. He's got to come up with a new tax plan. He's got to find a way of taking that $1.8 trillion that's sitting elsewhere by American companies. You've got to find a way to get it back into this country.
Repatriate it back here.
The biggest thing that he has to do, and from my point of view, and that was absolutely wasted by both George W. Bush in his 2 terms and Obama, and that is bringing our infrastructure up to date. I'm talking about highways. I'm talking about
roads,
railroads,
bridges, airports.
I'm talking about dams, airports. We're like a third world country.
Yeah.
You know what country has a fabulous infrastructure deal going right now, and it's respected all over the world because of it? China. You go to China, they got speed trains, they got all these things going right now. People laugh at China. They still look at China the way they used to be in the Mao Zedong days or even Chiang Kai-shek. But today, they're probably going toward number 1 in this world today.
They've progressed in the past 50 to 100 years faster than anyone could have ever imagined.
Unbelievable. Since 1980, when they had a president who said it's good to be wealthy. 1980, that's not that long ago, they really start taking off. And another thing that China has is the fact that they have a history, 6,000-year history of being good business people. That they have always been very, very good in understanding what business is all about, and that means import, export, trade, and they spread out all over the Pacific. And now that our president has decided to get out of that Trans-Pacific agreement, which I'm not arguing about. I think he felt we were getting the low end of the stick on it. Guess who's taking it over? China. He is actually, by pulling out, has put China on top. There is no other choice. China now is not only become the leading Southeast Asian nation, or even total Asian nation, it's become a very definite object of the future as far as being number 1 in the world.
Well, and there's a very precarious relationship there between government and industry, communism and commerce. I mean, it's a very, very weird situation.
It's not weird when you consider the way the Chinese have always been. Xi Jinping, who was a president, head of the Communist Party, and by the way, he's trying to perpetuate that role rather than give it up after 6 years, which his predecessors did. Chung Dao-ping, who was the guy that started this movement toward wealth, always said that's part of Chinese history. And they are the only country in the world that even under communism, there was always an independent structure within China. It wasn't the biggest thing. The government, the communist government always controlled the military, they controlled aircraft, they controlled the ships, the big stuff. but doing business, what we call small business on a steady basis, was always in the hands of Chinese people. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a situation like this Alibaba, who has built one of the biggest commercial development companies in the world.
Yeah.
So the Chinese are very, very bright people, and I think there's a tendency to underrate what they're capable of doing. I would say, I'm a great supporter of our president, but I'm saying he has accelerated China's future.
Do you think that he's taken on a little bit more than he can chew at this point? I think it's right at the bubble right now.
I would say from your standpoint and mine, very definitely yes. From the standpoint of the way he operates, no. I think that's part and parcel of him. That's what makes him a unique, outstanding individual. Not necessarily the best individual in some ways, but he says, I'm going to do it on all fronts. All my 10 fingers are going to be in all the pots that they are available, and I'll get it done.
Okay, let's talk about the 1,000-pound elephant that's in the room. Good idea or bad idea to implement the restrictive travel on the 7 countries? It seems to be that's going to go away eventually, but it's taken all the oxygen out of the room with everything.
I congratulate him for that. That you just named the number one thing that I really respect him for. He didn't have to do that. But when you see what's happened to France with 7 million Muslims there that are starting to bring that country down, Germany is finished. I mean,
About Italy.
Italy is coming next. Because it's not, there are a lot of nice people that are Muslims, I'm sure, but they're not in charge. Look at here, in this country, CARE, the Committee of American
Islamic Relations.
Those people, they're not interested in the welfare of the United States. They're interested in weakening the United States and making it possible for the Muslims to be...
For an Islamic caliphate.
That's exactly right. There's certainly some aspects of national socialism to what is being done in the Islamic world today.
And to look at what the Trump administration did, he didn't ban all Muslims. He didn't even ban all Muslims from those countries. He banned all immigration, and it's only temporary for 90 days until we can get a hold on who's coming in and what they bring to the table.
Precisely. But you see the media being strictly against him 100%. There isn't one major newspaper in that country that's really supporting him. Even the Journal has gotten to be a little flaky as far as being really a tough supporter of Trump, has indicated that they haven't brought out the fact that we have been fortunate not to have waves and waves of Syrians, for instance, coming into this country. I still don't understand Angela Merkel, what her game was. Germany has 81 million people. She invited 1.5 million Syrians into the country, and they have misbehaved. They've raped women, they have stolen, they have, not everybody. And
created havoc and chaos.
And interesting, they haven't brought the young kids, and they haven't even brought the women. It's mostly 18-year-old guys who are there. That means there's a deliberate invasion that has been planned by the Mideast to get into Europe.
Wouldn't it have been a little more prudent to work on, say, tax cuts or to focus on the corporate tax rate in the beginning, some of those softer economic things that maybe would be a little bit easier to get into before you start to get into some of these really hotbed issues?
No, I think this was urgent. I think he sensed the urgency of it. He felt that this is something he had to do before he did anything else.
Now, don't you feel it was a little bit haphazard and it was a little bit off the cuff and not as thoroughly executed as it could have been?
Here again, I have to disagree with you. I think it's the only way he could do it. He had to do it in a dramatic way because I believe that the majority of the American people applaud him.
I think you're right, they do. But when you get the narrative every single minute of every day being stuffed down your throats from the opposition, it's relentless.
Well, it also shows you that he did the right thing, because if they didn't think it was going to hurt their cause, they wouldn't be doing that. They're probably annoyed by the fact that he's picking a weak spot that makes the Democratic Party even less with a future ahead of them.
And let me just pose another point. Strategically, wouldn't it have been a little bit smarter to have waited till you got your Attorney General approved and maybe you gotten your Supreme Court nominee working through the pipeline before you really got all these people that angry and that set up against you?
I'm smiling at you. Did you ever hear of a Führer? Did you ever hear of somebody that is a dictator? This man by nature is a dictator. And I'm saying this objectively. He is. You do it my way or the highway. I'm not expecting a secret police to come forth or anything like that. But I'll tell you one thing. Within the next 6 months, America is going to experience more power coming from the White House. And I don't mean power by by taking physical action against people that are trying to unseat Trump.
And I guess you have to look at that. That's what he was elected from. That's what he said he was going to do. That's what the people voted for. It was an overwhelming majority that voted for him. As far as the Electoral College is concerned, I know people are going to say,
no, forget about that. You're making an excellent point. Don't weaken the point you're making. The point was that the people in Michigan, the people in Wisconsin, the people in Pennsylvania, who they didn't think were going to vote for him, voted for him because they feel their future will be better in his hands, because they want factories to be expanded, not to be degraded. They want jobs. And when he's
pipelines, oil,
you can
energy.
always, we could make a case for the fact that this tariff thing, he's playing with fire there, because it could be another Smoot-Hawley where we're going to stop shipping to them, they're going to stop shipping to us, and tariffs and so on. But the point is, he feels that the safety and security of the United States is the number one problem that we're facing today before anything else. That's his decision, and he's following it.
And he's definitely not backing down from what he said he was going to do.
No, he's not. He never does.
We need to take a brief time out, but don't go anywhere. This is just the first inning. Remember, if you'd like to see the show again or catch a segment, it's simple, it's free. You just go to YouTube and search Morrie Beschloss. We'll be right back.